Need a light back there?
Bingo, you're on now.
We're on.
Hydro.
Get my protective helmet out.
It was a strong. Okay, go ahead, Sherry.
Council workshop meeting, Monday, August 1st, 2022, 6 p.m. Bear?
Here.
Briggs? Here. Coulter?
Here.
Hydrich?
Here.
Holtmeyer?
Here.
Patke?
Here.
Reed?
Yep.
Wessels?
Yeah.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will all the committee members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the meetings dated June 6, 2022? Bear?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Coulter?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
I need a motion.
Need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Patke, second by Holtmeyer. All those in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Motion passes by your vote.
Report of department heads, Administration Department, discussion of bids for Freight Depot.
So I believe I forwarded you all a copy of some information. Basically, it was the same information that you have in the letter that's in your packet. We did open up bids on July 21st for the renovations of the Freight Depot on Front Street. Once it was determined to move forward with shoring up the western wall, the job estimate was approximately $350,000. The bids exceeded that. We received 3 bids. You see the list of all the bidders. We had a base bid. Alternate 1 was the construction of a deck to replace the existing deck that's down there, and then alternate number 2 was for them to remove the deck as well. So with that, we do have the funding available for that. We're not asking for you to move this on to council tonight. Obviously, we didn't have that on here. We wanted to discuss that with you tonight. We are also, if we do move forward with it, we do have to go ahead and have the lease in place. That's our recommendation. If we do move forward, we certainly don't want to spend this unless we have a lease in place to go ahead and recoup some of this. But and I think I explained to you within your that last paragraph how or the third last paragraph, I guess I should say, of $3,000 a month for a total of $180,000 over a 5-year term. We could also, just for purposes of payment for this, $350,000 from the Capital Improvement Sales Tax Fund, and use the remaining balance of $159,404 from the ARPA funds. And so one of the questions, I know Councilman Hydrich emailed and had asked any question about any experience that we had with them. We have not had a contract with Franklin County Construction. However, I'm asking Joe McGowan, the design with Cochran for the design, to go ahead and give us what they have done. They have built maintenance sheds for MoDOT. They've had contracts with them and done several of those, is what I am to understand. Joe can get me a more comprehensive, and I'll share that with you when I get that information.
We've just been down this road before. You know, we don't know who they are. They do the work. Not saying we have trouble 90% of the time, but we do have trouble with these contractors we don't know, and that's why I was asking.
Yep. So we will get you a rundown of what they've done, but my understanding is they've successfully constructed projects for MoDOT, primarily their maintenance locations, et cetera. That's what they've done. So they've done government work, I can say that, but they have not done it with the city.
So
So
I've not heard
So
of I've not
basically,
heard of
we're
Franklin County or
150,000 over budget if we go ahead with this.
if you go forward with it, it's.
Yeah, you know, I got a problem with that.
The other option, like I said, the second last paragraph, is if you choose not to, we could, it's our building. We're going to have to do, so we could just keep it for storage.
I mean, I don't know if we want to tie up that kind of money. That's my opinion. Want to go with it. I'm sure we're going to vote on this, so whatever. I just think it's a lot of money. I think we all feel it's a lot of money.
I guess
Go ahead.
maybe back up to, I know we talked about it a long time ago, and I know we had problems with the west wall. The decision was made to go with the west wall. Do we have to? I mean, is it something that,
Is it that critical?
Well, and
I don't know.
how far do we have to take it? I
I
understand
just,
there's
I would be.
wind issues there
I could-
and,
I would be concerned with our liability issues if we didn't do something with it.
and is this the only thing, I guess, is the something with it come with this price tag no matter
I'm
what?
not
or
real big into taking out the deck either. I think that deck is gonna be there a long time. Is it pretty? No. But it is very strong, and, you know, a guy could maybe cover it. I don't know, you know. You all looked at it more than I have, but I'm a no as far as everything else is concerned, but, you know, that's why we're here.
My whole thing is, if we fix it up and spend the money now, it's not gonna get any cheaper if we
No.
wait. And then we don't wanna tear it down. We're gonna have a tenant in there for a period of time. And then if this doesn't work out with this tenant, we'll still have a nice building to lease later on. And it'll last a lot longer than if we don't do anything. If we don't do anything, it's gonna fall down. So I think we need to go forward with this. That's my opinion.
I think it's a lot of money. There's no doubt about that. But we spend a lot of money on other buildings, and we don't get any rent back. I guess I don't want to be misleading that we're making our money back. It's not going to be in 5 years.
Nope.
Luckily, we're going to make it back in 10 years, if we make it back. If we do. I mean, I don't know how long a lease are we talking?
5-year, what?
5-year
That was a
for this
5-year
first
lease.
one. The one that would be in front of you at the next meeting would be for a 5-year, correct? Very
What-
similar to the waterworks.
And when we say deck, we're referring to the dock.
The dock,
Yeah.
yes.
Right, all in one, all in the same. I'm kind of with Dwayne on that. It's almost like it's the historic part of that
I
building.
see
almost.
everybody taking their wedding picture on the damn thing still today.
Well, we've talked about it before that it's almost, you know, we don't want people taking wedding pictures on it because it's doesn't have a handrail and all that kind of stuff.
It is not something we want to encourage people to go
Right.
ahead. We either fix it or we don't.
Stand in front of it, fine, but we talked about this before years ago that, you know, it's not handicap accessible. It's not, no handrails, all that kind of stuff on it. But if we can take pictures in front of it, there is some historic value there, I think, as far as being the freight depot. That's what it was there for. But again,
If we don't take it down, that's the most valuable part of the whole thing, is to go out and look at the river, and people are gonna go out there no matter what, so you wanna make it safe. We just don't wanna rig up some kind of railing just to keep an old deck. I mean,
right.
but whatever.
You do have to go ahead and meet code for occupancy.
For the deck too? Yeah.
Say it again, Darren, I'm sorry.
You do have to meet code for the occupancy.
Okay.
You're gonna open
Take
it
out,
up.
We don't, but if we go forward on this, we are going to have to do something with the dock, correct?
Yes, if you move forward with the base bid, and you want to go ahead and keep, the tenant wants to utilize that area of the dock,
It's
future
gonna cost us
deck,
more money.
you're gonna have, well, you see what the bids are.
Yeah. Okay.
I did have, Joe did text me or whatever, because he said they did 2 projects with Franklin County Construction. Both were around $1 million. Arnold Public Works Facility was built by them. And Phil Wright Packaging Manufacturing Edition in New Haven. So both projects were on time, no problem with change orders, quality construction, good to work with.
Who was this that told you that?
Joe McGowan,
From Cochran.
the design consultant on it.
So, before, when we were doing jams down there, we didn't have to do anything as far as, the deck, as far as occupancy then?
They wanted to keep it on there, but they did not have the general public going out there on the deck.
They used it for a loading
They
dock.
used it for a loading dock, and that only. And even with that use, I still don't know that necessarily met code.
Guys, this is one of the most historic structures in our most important district in the city. That's why I've, with Darren and our staff, that we should do this. Yeah, it's expensive, but it's not gonna get any cheaper. And I am certainly not for tearing it down. But I don't have a vote unless you guys ties, you know that.
So the 350 was part of what we had already put out there in the sales tax, right?
Yes, it's part of the capital improvement
that's-
sales tax. That's what we figured.
I mean, you've got the public has voted and thought this was gonna be something we're gonna do, you know? Right now, we're sitting on an airport that we said we were gonna do, and there's other things that, you know, questions
Well-
are coming up, are you gonna do this, are you gonna do that? 'Cause
Right. To your point, Al, the 350 was already basically approved by the public. That was part of the capital improvement sales tax allocation. Now we're just determining whether the extra 150 is what we
Right.
need to do, and is that inflation cost, additional structure to the west wall, dock, et cetera.
some function of both, probably.
Right. That's kind of where that's what I take it as the discrepancy comes. My only other question is that it's on Union Pacific property,
That is correct. We own the building, they own the ground beneath it.
but we're confident that if we spend this kind of money on a building on top of their property,
That was the
we're not-
question I raised with them, and I cannot give you any more than what your lease is with Union Pacific and what you had even before this last one. It's basically, if they would ever determine that they need all use of that right-of-way that they have down there, of their property, they could at any given moment go ahead and do it. Only in the new lease that you just signed with them, you've got 6 months rather than 30 days to figure out what you want to do.
How long is that lease?
That lease is for, I can't remember the timeframe. It's renewable, I think, after 5 years, but it goes up to 20, something like that.
Up to 20.
I'd have to get that. But you're at the mercy of Union Pacific. I mean, it makes, I think Union Pacific over time, I mean, all these communities, they don't want to go ahead and be responsible for maintenance. So what they did was they just turned these structures over to the local jurisdictions and say, here you go, we'll give them to you. You guys can go ahead and take care of your own maintenance problems because they don't want to deal with it. So that's basically what we have to go ahead and deal with. But on the flip side, they say, in case we ever needed it,
Right.
they put that clause in there.
You know, when, last couple of years, we put 50,000 into that building, and at the time we did that, I was thinking, ooh, you know, 50 mil. And that was just 50,000. Now we're looking at
Yep.
quite a bit more. But you know, do you cut it off at that point? I don't know. I think for me, if we've got a 5-year lease in hand for the kind of rent we're asking, I would probably be for it. If we don't, I couldn't see doing it.
And that changes our recommendation as well.
Well, to that statement, Mark, we put 50,000 in, we were only getting 800 and something, 900 and something out of rent before,
Correct.
right? We were at a low number for lease then.
Correct.
And we put that money into it. Now we're talking a substantially more amount, but not that it makes up the difference, but it makes it a little more
Did
feasible.
we ever look into what 350,000 would get us down there? Not tap into our own funds?
I don't know that, like I said, you mean it like if we took line items out of there? Out of the work that's being proposed?
Is-
didn't-
I mean, is there anything we can,
That we can cut back on?
we don't.
I'm not aware of anything that we would be able to go, we tried to do the bare bones minimum, I guess you could take out the HVAC. I don't know how much the work we had there, but I mean, what are you gonna do, have a, you know, I mean.
I'm just saying, we don't have to build a Cadillac at first, can we?
I think we're building the bare bones with this. I don't think we're getting a Cadillac. This is what I'm trying to tell you.
See, and when we said this 350 to the public, that was a guess.
Yeah.
And now inflation and price of lumber and labor, it just makes sense that 150 is what it's gonna cost more because of all what I just said. So I think 5-6 years ago, 350 would have probably built it. But now, we're not living in the past.
You do have, I mean, this has been deferred maintenance for a long time. That you're playing catch up on.
I don't know, it just blows my mind sometimes. We talk about Rabbit Trail and 100, and nobody up here wants to spend the money to make that safe, but when we talk about this, it's like, yeah, let's just do it. I know it's historical, and I know, but our citizens are also rent payers too on our streets and intersections and highways, and they should get something they deserve too. Just a thought for everybody.
Well, they made the decision when they voted on this
I understand about 350,000, Joe. I understand about that. I'm talking the extra 160,000.
We're working on it.
Darren, can you allude where we're at on the ARPA funds? Is how
You
that
have,
divides out.
you have so far spent approximately, you had 200,000 that we gave to one-time allocations to the employees, including the fire department. And you had also the fuel truck over at the airport at about 187,000. And those are the two expenditures that you've used out of that. So round numbers, you spent about 400,000 out of 2.8 so far. Now, you're going to have, we'll be coming to you soon. I'm still waiting for our meeting with the group that's got a proposal to replace the library HVAC, which is going to be a hard one to.
Swallow also.
Yes.
It's gonna be,
But that, we anticipate that. We've also got some projects with regards to extending water and sewer into the industrial park. And also if we would possibly look at extending sewer going further east. And so there's another county ARPA fund meeting tomorrow. They still have about $12 million of funds that have to be allocated towards these certain areas that we identified and told you about early on when we received our allocation. Those are extension of water, sewer, and broadband, tourism. I'm trying to remember the other categories. Lost revenue that you would have had due to COVID, or and wages. Exactly. Those are the four categories. So the first 10 million, the county can go ahead and spend their money, all that they, on just about anything that they want. And I think it's anticipated that they will use it towards transportation, Highway 47. But the remaining portion of that, that's why we have petitioned them to consider some type of program that cities could go ahead and either, not only cities, but possibly water and sewer districts could go ahead and apply for as well throughout Franklin County so that they can apply for those funds. Whether or not they choose to do that, that is in the hands of the county. They've got a committee. Their meeting last month was canceled, I think, but tomorrow I was told, we called over there today and to make sure, but their meeting again is at 10:30. We're still petitioning them to go ahead and be able to utilize some of those funds for water and sewer projects, et cetera, that we would like to see. So, John, I don't know if you had
Yeah, I can give you a quick update. On the, we put those applications in for the statewide ARPA funds as well. There's more than that, probably 300 million available across the state for the statewide stuff. We put in 4 applications. 2, I think, has some legs. The water tower specifically, and then potentially sewer to the east would also have some legs. I did go through a hypothetical scoring of those. I did get the scoring rubric. Our projects don't score that well just due to social economic things that we don't, I guess, score high on. For example, our water rates relative to our income are low. That's actually a negative to this application, which again is odd to me. But we won't know those outcomes until October 1st. So that's a big chunk of money we're trying to get. I can't promise anything, but I would hope that our applications with the shovel-ready project are pretty good. So.
But just one last comment on our local ARPA funds. Anything that the state has out there that they're looking for certain, like for example, Sal, John, and I, and the mayor have met about they've got community revitalization. There's some projects that we can do there that we could go ahead and supplement that with our own ARPA funds, that we can submit that application. If we hear something within the next week, we've got a couple of different projects that we're working on that we can identify and bring to you, but those will also be contingent upon us being able to use our local ARPA funds as well. So I have all the, we're going to be going through the remaining 2.4 million pretty easily with regards to those funds in the future.
Any chance of historic preservation grant type stuff? I'm sitting here thinking about
For this?
Waterworks too. I mean,
We looked at the possibility of putting, like, for example, I can tell you this, we looked at the possibility of putting the city auditorium, for example, on the National Register of Historic Places. Would that get us anything as far as additional funds to go ahead and help with that building? And the answer to date has been no,
okay.
unfortunately. So that would be my first step, and that's why we held off on including that in the budget. But that's something we'll be coming back to you, that we did identify in the capital improvement sales tax for a roof in there and a new HVAC system. And with today's costs, I anticipate that our capital improvement sales tax, just like this project, is not going to be able to cover the whole amount, and we're going to have to possibly look at ARPA funds to help supplement. The irony is that the money that they've submitted out there for these communities with ARPA funds, and you've got the cost of inflation now as a result of it, now we're using
Right.
those funds to cover up that
cover the
stopgap to
inflation, yeah.
cover. Now, there's communities out there that don't even have the capital improvement sales
It
tax.
becomes an airport hangar and a stage roof,
Exactly,
you know?
yeah. I mean, that's basically what we're doing, is trying to use these funds to cover the,
Inflation.
yeah.
Need a motion to send this on?
Well, I guess what I'm looking for tonight is, yeah, a motion to send this on, but it wouldn't be on your agenda tonight, later on, but it will be at your second meeting in August. We would award that, and then that would be obviously contingent too upon us getting the successful lease documents drafted up and ready to go for that second meeting. We won't have one without the other.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Holtmeyer, who's second?
Wessels.
By Wessels. All in favor, say
For
aye.
discussion?
Oh, good. More discussion.
I think you need a roll call vote.
I do too. Roll call, please, Sherry.
Bear,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Coulter,
Yes.
Hydrich,
Nay.
Holtmeyer,
Aye.
Patke,
Yes.
Reed,
No.
Wessels.
Aye.
By your vote, the motion passes.
The second item on there is for the approval on the increase in design contract for Cochrane. They did have a contract with us initially to design this for 23.9. Once the western wall was determined that some structural support was needed, they had to increase that design. And so I will tell you, we typically have approximately 10 to 12% design contract for design services on a project, on a construction project. You're still well under that. With this, the total design then would be $9,000 on top of the $23,900, so you're talking $32,900 for the design contract on a $500,000 contract for construction. So well under the 10%. Our recommendation, they did reduce that, to answer the question that I think that Councilman Bear had. What I was trying to explain in that is they reduced it from 95 down to 9. They took 500 off of it.
Essentially, this is just a change order for the design phase.
Correct.
So did anyone else bid on this project that Cochrane did?
We did, these go out for requests for qualifications. Just a reminder, we don't bid out professional services. You go out for requests for qualifications. Cochrane was the only one that submitted qualifications.
Okay, that's what I remembered as. I just wanted to make sure that someone else didn't put a bid out for qualifications.
Nope.
Or, like I said, not a bid, but
Just-
request for qualifications, and then this come up, I don't know, it just seems a little bit odd that, if someone else bid somewhere in the middle and they were going to include it, that's all.
Just so you know, just to make sure that everybody's very clear, because we go through this with John in Public Works. So for example, if we go out for qualification statements for design on a street, okay, for the redesign of like adding sidewalk like we did on 3rd Street, we had several. If we had Jefferson Street project, we had 3, I think, different ones. We go ahead and identify which staff are going to review the qualification statements. You come up with a scoring summary of who best answered the request for qualifications, take the highest score out of those, and then we go ahead and start negotiating a contract with them for that work. That's how we typically do it. We did, and we've done it by, sometimes we've done it by committee, et cetera. If there's, for example, when we looked at the roof out at the main stage, even though we didn't move forward with that project, We had a committee that reviewed qualification statements or whatever. And then, like I said, whoever scored the highest, that's who we start to negotiate a contract with. If we're unsuccessful at negotiating a contract with that entity, you move down to the second, the entity that scored second on the list.
Yeah, State statute basically states that with professional services, you can't really even talk about money until you have the qualified firm or individual to negotiate with. So like I said, we have a procedure that we put forth on all of our projects, that we try to get at least 3 city staff, maybe Darren Wayne and Andrew, maybe Darren Wayne, it doesn't really matter what the project really is. And then we score those each separately, so we don't even talk about them, and then we compile a composite score, and then that's the firm that we go with, and then we negotiate that contract. So it's
So in this
very-
case, you didn't even have anybody else to compare. Cochran was the only one.
So money does not get talked about until that's taken care of.
Correct.
Make motion to send it on.
Second.
Motion by Holtmeyer, second by
Heidrich.
Heidrich. All those in favor, or more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
By your motion, or the ordinance passes, or the approval passes.
Engineering Department, Washington Special Road District.
Okay, good evening again, council. First off, I'd like to apologize. In your cover letter, in your packet, I had some incorrect figures at the bottom of that. Unfortunately, I added up the city portion, the Washington Special Road District portion, and it said their final cost to the city. That is not correct, okay? That's not the final cost.
Got a red circle on that, Jeff.
Yeah. So when I was going through this morning or this evening, this afternoon, I saw that. So if you look towards, this requires a budget amendment. It was not a budget item for this year. It is a project that we've been talking about for over a year now. Essentially what it would do is it would connect the stub water line at the North Road to Stonecrest. So the one you see first as you're going south of town, there's a water line stub there. There's also a water line stub, Jim Peters sign, okay, that has not been connected. It's been the water department's goal that they connected for 20 plus years. Apparently they ran across some issues with property rights and getting easements because that's in Washington Special Road District. With this water tower that's coming online, or that we're hoping to get out to bid this winter, Stonecrest only has one feed line into the city right now. It's from basically Vernacey Drive. So there is only one way water gets into the city and basically connects into Stonecrest and Fairfield, 2 subdivisions. Stonecrest does have its own well, so if there was a major catastrophic break, let's just say at Phoenix Park, the well could feed it, but there would be some pretty major issues potentially with the Stonecrest subdivision. There's not redundancy in that system. What this does is it would connect those two. That would allow for a second feed line to come in and out of Stonecrest if there was a breakage in one or whatever may happen. So it's been a goal. It's been going on for 20 years, and we're finally getting it done. Once I found out that the Washington Special Road District was paving South Point Road, they were only going to put curb and gutter on the west side of the road. Okay, so the west side, right? So that's all their budget had accounted for. They were only going to put it on that side of the road. They were not going to put it on the east side. Okay, sounds like a pretty incomplete project. So the idea here is that since they were already looking to pay for the west side, and it's the same amount of curb and gutter, have them pay for the east side. So they put their curb and gutter that they were already going to pay for on the east side. We put our water line in on the west side, and then we put the curb and gutter in and finish the job on the west side. The idea there is, now your citizens have a complete road, because Stonecrest citizens use South Point a lot, and then they pay for the asphalt work as well. We're not paying for any asphalt work. And then we get our water line in the ground. That was the negotiation we had with all the property owners. It would allow property owners to hook into our system should they choose to. They're not citizens of Washington, so they are not required to hook water in, but if they have a well go out, they can. It would allow potential to pull water to the east, hypothetically, if there was other subdivisions along South Point wanted to tap into us, they could have access now to our water line. So it's a pretty big project. The problem here is that the costs have gone up pretty substantially. $115 a linear foot for 12-inch water line we would have been figuring 75 probably, not even a year and a half ago. So with that, and in my error here, Of the $526,169.50 that is the city's portion, that includes that water line. Of that, $274,485 is the water line itself. So excavation, some borings, a little boring, maybe go underneath the gas line, those type of things. The remaining balance of that is $251,684. That is the roadway portion, which is that curb and gutter, grading, some driveway. So if you look there, Washington Special Road District is 332. That's in line, because it's a 50-50 split, and then we're not paying for any paving, that's why theirs goes up. So with that, and I hope that all makes sense, we are looking to split the project up funding-wise, where the transportation sales tax pays for $275,000, which is, again, the roadway portion. You'll see that's bumped up a little bit. The reason for this, we try to like round up to an even number. That's what finance asks us to do. The water fund will pay $180,000 of that water line, and then the capital improvement sales tax will pay the other $90,000. Capital improvement sales tax has dollars allocated for the water tank. It's essentially a water tank project, water improvements program. So that's where the funding kind of broke out. We feel that's the best way to make some sense. This is 20-plus years coming, and your citizens will actually have redundancy. And with the water tank project coming in, this just makes all the sense in the world.
Are we gonna put shut-offs in all the properties going out there so we don't have to dig up the road when
No.
we decide to?
The negotiation of this water line to get this done, I treaded very lightly on it.
I'm just asking.
The water line is right underneath the curb and gutter. I mean, it's literally, because utilities, like the green space, there's no really good room, so it's right underneath the curb and gutter. So if you could think about how that would work, if you had to get access to it, you would essentially excavate out the green space, cut out your curb and gutter, tap your water line, bring it over, and then put your curb and gutter back in. So I do not think that you'll have major patches along the roadway in the future. But again,
Going to the other side of the road, that's what I'm talking about.
well, there was no support with any of the neighbors through there.
I figured that.
So I treaded very, very lightly. I had multiple meetings in living rooms to just understand that this is not has anything to do with anything they've dealt with in the past. It's literally the city trying to complete a roadway that everyone uses, and the city trying to get this water line for our citizens,
John, is
which
that-
is the truth.
Well, South Point Road, are you staying the same width?
30-foot wide?
Yeah, it's, so if you envision it, yeah, it's 30-foot wide. So it's a little bit wider. I
Wider
don't
than
know
what
what the
it
width of
is.
it is now, but kind of think of like where the end of the pavement is now. That's probably where the face of the curb, or the face of the gutter section will be. So it widens a little bit. There was talk about making it 35 feet. You know, the driveways are long, the setbacks are deep. It doesn't, you know, you only make a street 35 feet if you're going to have parking on it. Right? And that's not a situation they deal with now, so it shouldn't be one in the future. So I just think it's wiser to not invest that money.
At one time, we talked about taking over that stretch of road, since it's city, county, so we can, have better jurisdiction. Is that still?
We can still look at that, yes.
Yeah, I think, and again, I was very transparent with every single county resident through there in Special Road District, that's something that the city would always look at it, just from a jurisdictional standpoint, that we could police that for, speed. The individual property owners had concern about paving the road, curb and gutter, speed in general. So I told them, I said, well, what a better way to police speed if you had local police officers doing it rather than relying on the county to do it.
Correct.
I think that resonated with them. And so what that takes, I don't think the Washington Special Road District owns any right-of-way.
Correct.
The county owns the right-of-way. The road district just maintains it. So that petition or that thing, or, that question, I guess, would go to the county, not to the road district. However, we
They
tread lightly.
benefit, you mean the county?
Yeah, they would.
Correct, well, then
Oh,
it
yeah.
would be.
They wouldn't
I mean,
police it.
they don't, let me just say this, I mean, as far as like policing, I don't think the sheriff's department looks at it as like something that they're gonna do out there anyway, but, you would think that we say, hey, we'll take over that headache for you, but I don't know that they even deem it a headache. You know what I'm saying? They don't, it's not like
It's
they're out there on a
irrelevant
regular
to-
basis anyway.
So there is a benefit, I think, even to the citizens that live along the roadway to even have the city police officers. being able to do that, which is a different conversation. The other thing is that if that was to
Well, he's
happen-
been asking
He's
for
been
that
on me
for a
for
long
13
time.
years
The
now.
question was, Mr. Washburn would appreciate that, and I said, yes, he should, because he's been, this has been
Been on me
going
for
on.
13 years now.
Right.
Chief, you
Well,
might have, you
we're
might have
working on
that
it.
far out there 24/7.
So the other benefit that the citizens of Franklin County, not but the Franklin County residents out there could have is that they would have city police presence adjacent to them, even though they're not city residents, because there's no annexation conversation here. And then they would also, if you would do that, is the city would take over maintenance of that roadway into the future, which means the road district would have the same amount of revenue coming in with less road miles to maintain, which again is a benefit to every one of those individuals outside the city limits. So the citizens of Washington get benefit, but also the road district gets benefit. It's kind of a no-brainer. We did a similar thing with Pottery Road between Meadow Lake and.
One more time. They want to do east or west, curb and gutter? What did they want to do?
They originally
wanted to
just
do
wanted to
west.
do
They
west.
want to do west.
That's where they live.
We want to do east.
Yeah.
No, we flipped it. We flipped it. Because again,
But the water line goes in on,
the west side.
okay.
So again, they wanted to do west because there's some ditches on that side and they believe that their pavement was due to water getting underneath the subbase. So they wanted to cut that off with curb and gutter. That was their whole concept. That was their project. But I said, flip that. You guys go east, we'll do west because then it's essentially coincidental to our water line construction. It's
There again,
incidental.
and I agree with Joe, that now we got to tear the street up if we do connect.
I like I said, I don't know how much more we'd want to go ahead and add to the project cost if we went ahead and did that. And plus, that's going to be up to them at that time to go
Yeah.
ahead and
I
get it,
understand, I'm just,
pay for
And
that.
how many valves do you put in there? I mean, I
Yeah.
mean, how many do you do? I mean, how do you project for future?
I would
You know,
go back to what are the original goals. And the original goal is to provide redundancy within the water system, not necessarily, try to add cost, especially right now. And if those individuals on the east side want to, or even on the west side chose to, those costs would be borne on them, not on this project right now.
okay.
And you'd take that all the way out to Goods Mill or just to the south?
No, ideally they wanted to. Ideally, we wanted to get it all from Jim Peters sign, city limits, all the way through to Goods Mill where the water line's going.
Right.
But with cost, they couldn't get their portion done. So they're trying to do this in essentially a phase one, and then the phase two would come maybe next year or the year after.
So correct me if I'm wrong, John, but the scope on this, it does end at the first northern entrance to Stonecrest.
No, it doesn't.
Or right before that,
It ends at Kurt Understall's
which is right before.
commercial access.
That's what I meant to say.
Because that's where the road district, so it goes city in between,
Yeah.
Understall MPC Drive, I think is what it's called, and then goes in the city limits, then we own the intersection, then it goes back out in the road district, and then it goes back into us, and then back out in the road district again. So this is kind of the first phase of getting all that sorted out.
Goes to our first intersection that we have incorporated, which is that first.
Yeah,
Stonecrest
and
and
for you guys that are new on here, and you might know this already, reason I said city, county, city, it splits up right there. So
Yeah.
She can't go out there and go, yep, well, that's county, but 50, 100 foot, oh, yep, that's city again, and so.
it's a mess. And this is just kind of the first step in kind of solving 2 or 3 problems at one time.
When are we gonna extend the water line all the way to the tower?
It is extended to North Goods Mill, it just is not stubbed under the road yet.
Okay.
So we're waiting for this, if you approve all this, for construction to proceed here, because if we're gonna tear everything up, might as well do it all at one time. And then we would open cut it, it would go under, it would get patched up, tower would get constructed, then we look at finishing off next year as a phase
So
2.
do we need a motion to send this on tonight?
Yes.
I'm-
Yeah, and they're looking to do this in October. I mean, we're gonna do it done this year if everything goes well, so.
So motion by Wessel, second by Hydrich. More discussion? Okay, let's vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Your vote passes.
Anything else of me?
That's the conclusion of what we had on your agenda. We do have some items to discuss in executive session, unless you have, but we do have some department heads here if there's, in case there's any questions.
We've got that meeting set, should I do that now?
You can discuss, like I said, yeah, that's fine. So what you're talking about is, we may have a meeting with Fire Chief, John, myself, with residents and of Stonecrest, and Mark Wessels and Mark Hydrich for Ward 2 to go ahead and be there at a meeting, and I think we're looking sometime the week after the fair.
Well, they've asked for Wednesday, the 10th, at 7 o'clock.
But now we need to change that to August 9th at 7 o'clock, because our fire chief cannot make it that evening.
So that's the reason why I didn't really want to say anything until we knew exactly what the date was, so.
Well, we might want to hold, I'll get back to him, see if that's.
Right, our chief didn't even know nothing about the meeting, so I called.
We knew about the meeting, we just didn't have a date set.
Didn't have a date.
No date.
Unfortunately, Mark, I have a work commitment that was made out of town that night. Otherwise, I'm available every other night of the month.
Okay,
picked-
that's
you picked
fine.
the only
Well,
one.
we'll just let them know, let them
Get back to us.
to their beeps.
Okay, sounds good.
What's this meeting about? The extension of the road or?
No, it's about that, that lovely, island in the middle of, Vernacci, well, it's not Vernacci Drive.
North Crest Drive.
North Crest.
That-
And the firehouse placement,
Possible placement.
possible placement. Yeah, and they, not having it finalized or definite yet, a lot of folks all worried about, well, what are they doing, you know, so a lot of rumors running around. So they asked if they could get together with some of us.
Mark, if you wish, the fire station, we can make the lower level of headquarters available if they'd like to have the meeting there as well.
Okay, I think they're looking forward to meeting right there, you know?
Yeah,
That way, Chief, you could actually walk out and show them what you got in mind.
I offered this, you know, the council chambers. It might be a little cooler. Nope, we want to meet right there. Okay.
Hopefully it won't
I hope
rain.
it's 100 degrees.
They're bringing bricks. They
Be
want to
short
lay
and
the
sweet.
base for
Right.
that pretty,
Careful now.
Need a motion to go to close?
Yeah, unless any of you have questions of any of the other department heads that are here. We told them, though, that we're going to try to get these executive
I
sessions.
have just one quick thing for Tony. Tony, I wanted to tell you thank you for coming and personally looking at a resident's trash issue on Big Trash Day. It was a rubber plastic rear bumper of a Chevy Cobalt. Can't weigh but 5 pounds. Big Trash didn't take it. They were confused, don't know why. They said they don't know why that the city didn't take it, doesn't stay anything in there, so you gave them the new brochure. But I still don't understand why a small, flimsy, quarter-inch thick bumper wouldn't have been taken.
Evening, Council.
That was
I believe
plastic.
in the flyer that they sent out about the Big Trash Week, they made a comment about no car parts. And the intent is for people not to put motors out there or.
Obviously,
engines.
transmissions, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, we gotta have a little sense with it too.
But this is not the only thing. I've seen a lot of like area rugs aren't getting
Yeah.
picked up in the sense of that they're carpet, right? That's the thing. So I think we also need to understand that you also are having a couple, guys out there picking things up, making decisions on the fly. They are not going to make those decisions correct every single time. That's where we come in to make the decision for them or take care of it. So I agree with you. Some sense needs to be had. But it's not going to be perfect every time, and that's again where we come in. So
Right,
I think
and
honestly, I think the situation, with the way you're describing with car parts and what we did to get it taken care of, is probably exactly how it most likely would.
Well, I just want to give kudos because you came out and they were tickled to death. They
Yeah.
said, yeah, a guy by the name of Tony, I said, came out and I go, yeah, and they said he took care of it. So I wanted to thank you for that, but they were totally up in arms why. I mean, it's not a bumper. I mean, it's just a wrap. I mean, it's not.
Hopefully everyone can understand the thought process that would go into
Car
this thing
part.
to some degree. Carpets, or
Yeah,
area rugs are the biggest things.
Several area rugs been left out.
And we've been, call us, I've personally picked up multiple myself to get rid of. So I mean, just that's part of it.
And I sympathize with them because one of their trucks is a front-loading truck. And anything that hangs outside the parameters of that hits the side of the truck and falls back out. So it does create some problems, so.
But I mean, that bumper, he could have folded it 10 times. I mean, it's like, nothing to it, but whatever. Thank you. I just want to tell you thank you. You don't never hear that enough, do you? You never hear that enough, thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
We got no motion to go in executive session,
No, we don't need a motion.
Councilman Bear.
Okay, so we got a
We don't,
motion to
let me
go
read
into-
the executive
He
session.
has to read that.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Executive session, public vote on whether or not to hold a closed meeting to discuss personnel, legal, or real estate matters pursuant to section 610.021 RSMO 2000. Bear?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Coulter?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Reed?
Yep.
Wessels?
Aye.
Motion passes. Here we go.
I was just giving you grief for it. He hit it that one
He said he's gonna start throwing
I
rocks.
was gonna get shrapnel.
I said, Mike, might wanna hold off.
Happy. She's having fun.
Right. All right. Welcome, everybody. Go ahead, Sherry.
Regular meeting of Washington, Missouri City Council, Monday, August 1st, 2022, 7 p.m. Bear,
Here.
Briggs,
Here.
Coulter,
Here.
Heidrich,
Here.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke,
Here.
Reed,
Yep.
Wessels.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will all the council members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the council meeting dated July 18, 2022? Bear?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Coulter?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Okay, I need a motion for approval, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Patke made the first motion. Who was next?
Heidrich.
Second by Heidrich. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Your vote, the approval of the minutes are approved.
Approval and adjustment of agenda, including consent agenda. You have the final payment request for Lions Lake Pavilion's rock columns and final payment request for Waterworks building renovation.
Okay, questions, you guys?
Just quick comments. Both are awesome.
Please.
I mean, the rock columns really finished that project off out there nicely, and getting it done that fast
Way to
was
go,
pretty
Wayne.
incredible from John. I didn't think that was gonna happen before the fair, and they're all out there, look great. Got a nice little tour of the waterworks last week. Really coming together nice down there. So, soon, right?
Make motion.
Motion by Holtmeyer, second by Coulter for approval and adjustment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Abstain.
abstain. Okay, by your
You
vote,
don't need my vote.
the approval and adjustment of agenda is done.
Priority items, Lions Club presentation.
Got two members out here. Sure.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Ron Williams. I am past president of the Washington Lions Club, and this is Matt Feltman. He's the current president of Lions Club.
Welcome.
Last December, we came before you all and pledged up to $30,000 for the rock facade out at the pavilions at the park. We worked with Mr. Dunker in order to get that done and facilitate it, and he's been very helpful on all the projects we have looked at. So to that, I say kudos to him. And tonight, we are here to fulfill our commitment, mainly because you paid the contractor. But we're here to present a check to the city of Washington in the amount of $27,810.
Thank you.
Thanks, fellas.
There was many a pork burger sold and frozen margarita and daiquiri prepared and sold to make that happen. But that's what we do. Our motto is we serve, and we served this community for over 80 years now. City's not the only thing that we are benevolent toward. We have international and state organizations as well. In fact, we just passed a budget today of having a charitable budget of $47,000 for this fiscal year. So, and that does not take into account anything else that comes up during the year, but that's our budget for our normal charity fund. So, appreciate the opportunity to be able to help.
Thank you so much.
Ron?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
They look good.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Guys, before we end, I'd like to say something about what the Lions have just done. I know the previous mayor, she signed a proclamation honoring what you guys are doing tonight. I would just like to add my thanks, admiration. The Lions represent what makes Washington, Washington, you guys. Volunteerism, stepping up to the plate, and it just makes me really happy to be here and say thank you, you guys. So, you bet.
Mayor's presentations, appointments, and reappointments, special police appointments.
Good evening, council. As you see in your packet, I have a letter in there requesting temporary appointment for 8 law enforcement officers. They're all commissioned officers in Franklin County to assist us with the fair. I believe there's 5 from Franklin County, 2 from Union, and 1 from St. Clair.
Discussion?
If not, I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Hydrich, second by Patke for approval of the appointments. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. By your vote, the appointments of the special officers for the fair is approved.
Thank you. We need the help.
Citizens' comments?
Anybody out there have anything? Okay.
John, do you have anything?
I do not.
Ordinances and resolutions. An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a cooperative agreement for road improvement for a section of South Point Road by and between the city of Washington, Missouri and the Washington Special Road District, and amend the 2022 budget.
Holtmeyer.
Okay, brought by Holtmeyer.
Okay, good evening again, council. This is the item that we discussed at the workshop. It's the cooperative agreement with Washington and the Washington Special Road District as it pertains to South Point Road. Again, the city's portion of this will construct a water line that would loop the subdivisions of Fairfield and Stonecrest into the city's water system. Currently today, it only has one feed line in from the city and a well. Obviously, there'll be a water tank constructed out there, so this would loop the entire system, provide a little bit of resiliency and redundancy in the water system to those 2 subdivisions. In addition, we would pay for the curb and gutter and concrete work on the west side as a incidental construction item to that water line. The Washington Special Road District would be then required to put the curb and gutter and incidentals on the east side, and they would be required to pave that section of roadway with this contract. So it shows 2 taxing entities coming together to get one project done for the betterment of both groups of citizens. And we ask for your approval.
Any discussion? Okay.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a cooperative agreement for road improvement for a section of South Point Road by and between the city of Washington, Missouri and the Washington Special Road District, and amend the 2022 budget. Reed?
Yes.
Coulter?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Bear?
Yes.
By your vote, the cooperative agreement passes.
An ordinance of the City of Washington, Missouri to establish a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain municipal officials.
Hydrich.
Okay, brought by Hydrich.
This is your annual ordinance that needs to be passed, excuse me. Just routine stuff that we do every year.
changes?
No changes. No changes I'm aware of?
Nope.
Discussion? Okay.
An ordinance of the City of Washington, Missouri to establish a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain municipal officials. Reed?
Yes.
Coulter?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Bear?
Yes.
By your vote, the ordinance for disclosure of potential conflicts passes.
Mayor's report?
First of all, thank you guys for having patience with me while I mumble through Robert's Rules of Order and such like that. I know we get through it, but I'm slowly learning. Big picture is, we've talked about some big ticket items tonight, how we're gonna fund them. That's gonna continue. But I think we're going to see some more monies come down the pipe. I would like us to keep doing what we're doing, tightening our belt when we need to. And I'm liking the way that everyone discusses passionately but respectfully. And I've found that to be very, very important from the get-go, and that will continue. But thank you for doing that, you guys. So that's all I have.
City Administrator's report.
I do have a couple of items for you. We will need a special meeting at the end of August. I will let you know when that, we typically like to have it. This is to set the special tax rate as we go into the budget for October the 1st. I'll wait and talk to Mary and see when that date, may be closer to the end of the month. We'll shoot for probably August 29th for that. But we will also be having some highlights of overall what's coming up in the upcoming budget here pretty soon. We had some new software that we implemented this year. The department heads worked their way through it. Some of them are still entering some final numbers, but we're getting ready to go ahead and get that information passed to you all. But part of that will be also, as we discussed, is trying to keep up with the cost of living. Primarily, the biggest concern is on wages for our employees, to see what we can go ahead, what increase we can go ahead and provide for that. So that's the first and foremost goal of this coming budget. The rest of it will have capital improvement sales tax items that will, like I said, as we keep checking them off the list of what we promised to the voters, and we'll see what we have. Speaking of that, there's a couple of things, though. We do have several projects that are going to be construction projects. We talked about the freight depot being one, and bidders, et cetera, but we have multiple projects that are still within your capital improvement sales tax. Part of them are the improvements for out at the bathhouse for the Parks Department. Go ahead and move their offices out there at some point. We also have work to be done in this building. Primarily, one of the things we're looking at is, as we progress after COVID and seeing that people have more and more of our general population is utilizing online payments, et cetera, is to try to figure out a location for payment here within City Hall so that you do not have to keep second floor open possibly. And we floated this idea before you, but as we keep moving forward, the idea possibly might be to have all payments be made on this level, and this level be the only one, because it is ADA compliant, whereas that up there on the second floor has never been ADA compliant. The only way it was to go up through the elevator, et cetera. But to utilize all of this floor as public access, and also to provide an easier way to go ahead and provide security for the rest of the building. So you got between that, you also are going to have improvements that are identified in capital improvement sales tax for, as we discussed a little bit earlier, for the city auditorium, primarily a insulated roof on that building, as well as a new HVAC system. There's going to be a lot more work that's probably going to need to be done to that building, but we're probably going to have to put it in phases. I know windows are going to be something down the road that we'll be taking a look at as well. So we're going to be looking, I've talked it over with the mayor about getting a couple of council members to go ahead and help us guide along that process of how we move forward with that. So we'll be reaching out to a couple of you to go ahead and so that we get your buy-in early on the process. So, and then finally, I am still waiting for our proposal on the library HVAC. I hope to have something to you by the next meeting. They did not have anything available at this last one. We were going to have a meeting, but they were waiting for some other proposals that they could get in. Hopefully, they'll have them this week.
Is the Fair Pavilion on that list also?
Excuse me, the fair
Stage roof.
Stage roof.
No, it is not. I mean, at this time, we're not, just due to the cost of what steel is, unless we have not proposed to go back out for bid unless there's another funding source for us to go ahead and utilize. I think the last that the council had discussed that, there was, don't hold me to this number, but I think we had increased what we would look at towards that project up to $425,000. However, when the bids came in at the time, the lowest bid that you had was a little over $900,000. So there was not really any other funding mechanism there to gap that, and that's a lot of money to be spent on a project that, as we all know, gets used this time of year. Of course, everybody would appreciate it. That we also have some other events throughout the year that I know that would appreciate and be able to utilize it, but still at the cost of what we had those bids come in, unless we get some other type of funding source. Like I said, it's that may be a project that sits in limbo.
I just make the public aware, just.
Yes, I agree. That's
Yeah, and on the same line, airport, I know we're waiting to hear back on, I guess we're to Senate approving the.
yeah. At the end
money
of,
there,
we
and that's what
anticipate
we're kinda-
hopefully by the end of this year we'll have more information exactly what got appropriated. Right now, all we know is that $3 million is there.
But hangar-wise, we've got a bid that,
Hangar-wise, we plan on bringing that bid to you. The 8 hangars.
Right now, it's hung up in MoDOT world.
okay.
So all the dollars, just so everyone knows, all the dollars that we have goes through MoDOT, up to the FAA, back to MoDOT, back to us. So that takes time. So I've already let MoDOT and subsequently the FAA know that we're looking at 8 hangars. The base bid, low bid, KJU Construction for that project. So I've let them all know that that's the kind of the direction. That's what they're reviewing and proceeding with. I know their inspector reached out to us last week, so I mean, things are moving. It just, in the bureaucratic world of state and federal government, it takes time. So. Everyone's itching to get the building procured right now, just with the timelines.
Right, and I just know that's part of what we talked about a little bit ago with the folks voted on these things, and these are the things we threw out there, and unfortunately, everything's a lot higher cost now, so.
Unfortunately.
Well, and luckily with the airport, we were able to get some additional dollars from St. Clair closure and those type of things.
Right.
So that does help bridge that gap a little bit.
One last item, the mayor had formed a committee to kind of take a look at what could be done for the Highway 100 medians. That group has met twice. They've kind of come to a consensus as to what to propose to you all for future, if you want to consider it. We are looking at trying to get some exhibits put together, but we'll probably have something for you at the first meeting in September. That's what we're shooting for, okay? And it may be identified then in your budget for next year, if you choose to go ahead with those improvements. So, that's all I have.
Council comments?
Your Honor, I'd like to just say that yesterday was a true testament of what Washington does when it's the start of Fair Week. The parade was humbling, of lack of better words, just to drive through and see. Awesome. It was, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. The whole experience is just pretty neat, and I know it kicks off a pretty big, not only a fun and community volunteer-driven, but also economically impacted to the city. Thanks to Chief, I know already yesterday, and all the extra help you got to have and what it takes. Wayne, Tony, those guys, all the street guys, parks guys. Things are getting pushed off in the parks because there's a lot to do at the fairgrounds, et cetera. But it's quite astonishing when you hear from people from out of town, what we do here. So it's something we, continue to be proud of, something that we continue to be part of. And like I said, for me, humbling, just to wave, and the amount of people on the side of streets is just, it's unbelievable. So it's great. So we're looking forward to a good fair. See you there. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Need a motion?
Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Patke, second by Hydrich. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?